What's going on, everybody? Carolina Combat Media. Today we're joined by 2026 national champion Aden Valencia. Aden, thanks for joining the show.
Yep, thank you.
Days, few weeks since you won national. Just kind of speak on how it's been decompressing since then.
Yeah, right when I got back, I spent some time with my family. Hung out at home, hung out with my mom and dad. Nyla, my sister, came home for a little bit. We got to hang out, and yeah, I went on a little road trip. It was kind of nice. I got to come back to spring break, so went on a little trip with some of my friends to San Diego. Got to hang out there for a weekend, and then kind of quick turnaround back on the mat. I got World Trials. I'm sorry, the Open coming up in about 3 weeks. So, and I want to make a world team. So that's kind of what's next on the horizon for me.
Yeah, you mentioned after one of your matches, you had a lot of up and downs throughout the year. You took third ACC. Just kind of that 2 week trajectory. Just what was the biggest things you adjusted going into nationals?
Yeah. So I would say I'll just maybe speak a little bit about this throughout the season too. One thing about this level is if you're not doing all the little things right throughout, it tends to catch up. And so I started to stack a little bit, and I started a little bit more towards the middle of the season. I started to lock in those little details, and some stuff as simple as making sure my sleep was on point. Making sure my diet was perfect. I wasn't adding any extra sugar that I needed to add. Just all those little things. And obviously that over time, that doing the right things makes a big difference. And I think by the time nationals came, I think that stacking effect had kind of taken over, and I had kind of like all those right habits in place. Um, Technically, the things I adjusted, one of the main things was my finishes. I was throughout the season having a hard time finishing on guys, and that was a big focus area for me is finding ways to finish on guys. I have a high attack rate, and I get in on a lot of attacks, and being able to convert those is really important for my scores. So that was something that we spent a lot of time adjusting. Um, and then just my bottom work as well. Making sure I could get out quick, especially with guys that throw in legs. Being able to explode in my feet, cut away, good cutaways is obviously a takeaway from that match at ACC's. Um, and just a couple details in my feet. Making sure I'm clearing my hands and feet, moving my feet. But yeah.
Jordan Burroughs spoke and said, he was most impressed with your performance. Just speak on, a legend like that having that kind of positive words for you.
Yeah, I know it means a lot. I mean, JB's one of my favorite wrestlers, if not my favorite wrestler of all time. I try one of my biggest inspirations for the style that I wrestle is from him. I leading up to NCAA's, I really wanted to work on my double, and that's been a shot that has won me a lot of big matches, and so I kind of wanted to focus on that. Obviously, it came into came in clutch multiple times throughout the tournament, but that was a shot that I wanted to put a little bit of work into, and in doing so, I spent a lot of hours. I think I went through every single one of JB's matches that I could find on YouTube. Uh, Maybe like within a month of NCAAs, and I watched every single match, how he set him up, how he was level changing direction. So, a guy that I spent a lot of time studying leading up to NCAAs, and for him to be commenting on some of the stuff that I'm doing is pretty ironic and obviously really, really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, just to confirm, you're staying in place though. You're going to be with Stanford next season.
Oh yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Stanford degree is the most important thing to me. Part of the reason I came to Stanford was because I wanted a career outside of wrestling. When it's all said and done, wrestling will take up about a quarter of my life. And I'll still have a lot of other things that I want to do. And so getting that Stanford degree will be really life changing for me in the future, and I really value that. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, building on that, I know you have a tougher academic schedule than most college athletes. Just how do you kind of balance just all that you have?
Just staying really disciplined with my schedules. We have really great academic advisors. Our academic advisor TJ does a great job of just scheduling our classes. Everything in our system is very systematic. We have our lifts at a specific time, our practices at a specific time, and so just making sure that we're disciplined with getting our work done. And sometimes we got to do tests or assignments on the flight. Sometimes we got to do stuff on the road. And just making sure that we're on top of it. It's nothing that we're not used to, right? We got to get into the school to begin with, so
Totally.
it's nothing that we're not used to. Just having to maintain that.
Speaking on that, you guys are West Coast, but in the ACC. So, kind of, what's that weekly travel kind of like?
Yeah, it can be a little bit tough on classes for sure. But like I said, just making sure that we're staying on top of stuff is really important. I think it's kind of cool. I personally like traveling to different places and different environments. So, it's been fun. Obviously, the ACC is a much more competitive conference than the previous Pac-12. So I'm just grateful that we're able to get better matches, and you know some of these potential matches are ones that we see in semi quarters and even finals matches at NCAA. So it's important that we get exposed to that high level of competition. So I think overall, I'm happy that we're a part of the ACC.
Back in the Nationals, you were at an 8-2 deficit in the quarters. Just speak on your mindset, just coming back and securing that win.
Yeah, I mean, it came down to confidence and belief and will to win. This tournament was. I mean, I really, really wanted to win for multiple reasons. It was my coach's last year, it was Hayden's last year coaching. I kind of knew that going in, and I really wanted to win for him for multiple reasons. And I had my sister to look out for. It was her last year competing this year, and so it was important to me to bring home a national championship for our family. Um, and then obviously the team, right? That's being able to find a way to win in a situation like that is a lot of team points for us. It's a difference between us taking eighth and sixth. Um, and so, it was something that I had to do. I was going to find a way, and I had full belief that I could. I know I have some of the best attacks out there, and I know I can put them together and put a high intensity together and find a way to win.
Speaking on Hayden, just kind of speak on his departure. I guess you guys will kind of be, on opposite sides next year. Just kind of just speak on that.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely sad, but I was really close with him. He was one of a guy that I rolled with at least twice, maybe three times a week. Like I rolled with him a lot. He's my main partner and obviously a great mentor. My coach. Um, so it was definitely hard, but overall, I'm really happy for him. We had some personal conversations and throughout the time that he was here, and I'm really happy that he's able to have a kid and he's going to go start a family. That's something that I know is really important to him, and he gets to go do that. And I can't say that I'm not happy for him. He's going to be close with his brother, closer to his family. So as sad as I am, I'm more happy for him than I am sad for myself. I think he's going to do great things, and it'll be fun to compete against him too. So
Absolutely.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, speaking of Stanford, you had a program that almost got cut a few years ago. Now we're seeing it with some other programs. Just speak on just that being able to be rejuvenated and just being y'all have had two national champions since then now. So
Yeah, I mean it's a really special thing. I think Stanford we're cultivating a really special environment. I think I like to think that or the team culture here is second to none. There's of all the teams, when I won that title, mine was Matt's side and they were cheering for me, and that was one of the most special moments of my life. And we care a lot about each other and the program. A lot of these guys have had to fight some crazy battles in order to stay here. Traveling, following Cole all the way to California, and then staying at Stanford and staying to the program. Our seniors last year who graduated, having to train outside on mats in the turf just to be able to keep their program. There's a lot of dedication to Stanford wrestling that I think goes unseen. And I knew I wanted to be part of something special. You know, um, a lot of guys go to these Big Ten schools, and that's super commendable. But it's also commendable to go to a program who's on the brink of struggle and help them build champions and win titles. And so that I'm really excited to be a part of this journey with the guys that are on my team and the coaches here. And I think we're building something special. And yeah, it's really exciting stuff.
yeah, speaking on the coaching staff, you were recruited by another staff before Ayers came in. So just kind of speak on that transition and the impact he's had on you so far.
Yeah, I mean it's been monumental to say the least. I think we have some of the best coaches out there. Throughout the season they've really helped me grow as an individual, as an athlete. I went through some personal stuff last year that they helped me get through, and obviously that's been important in being able to compete to the highest level this year. Obviously wrestling wise, I needed a lot of work in certain areas, and they helped me put that work in. I feel like I've gotten so much better from last year to this year, and even just throughout the season. Um, and yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for them. I think they're fantastic coaches. They do the right things, and the our peak for this NCAA was phenomenal. I mean, we had four All Americans, a champ, and two guys that were right there. Very few injuries. Just we're doing the right things here.
Absolutely. Next year, Bo Bassett's entering ACC. Just talk on a potential really high level ACC rivalry coming in.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I've lost him a couple times now, but never gotten the chance to wrestle him in folk style. And I appreciate every opportunity to scrap, especially with a guy like him. Right, he brings a lot of intensity and a high rate of attack, which is how I like to wrestle. Right, it's always fun wrestling a guy who's going to bring everything he's got. And I feel like that's what you get when you wrestle a guy like Bassett. And so that's something I'm super excited for. He's going to make me better. I'm going to make him better. And really that's what it's about, right? It's at the end of the day, it's about winning titles, but it's also about building US wrestling as a whole. And I think, a rivalry like that will help us grow each other. And when we take it to the world stage, we're going to be able to dominate international guys. So that'll be really exciting.
You said your main goals right now are making the world team. Do you have any aspirations to do any of the Real American Freestyle?
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. I'm just waiting on my shout out right now.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm always open to new opportunities. I think that would be really fun. Put on a show. It's something that's pretty interesting. I know Izzy pretty well. He's worked with Rio, and Rio was also obviously part of the Stanford program, and I'm really close to him. So, it'd be really cool to get out there and to do one of the events. Just waiting on my call out.
absolutely. When was the moment you believed you could be a national champion? I'm not sure if it was back in 2023 when you took out Seth Gross, or when was that just that one moment you really believed you could get it done?
I'd like to say that it started when I was really young. I've always believed I can do it. Um, you know, the start of the sport, I feel like I've always had an incredible support system that's helped me do really well. And I knew this was the level I wanted to compete at since I was 5 years old. I watched every NCAA tournament. It was a tradition in my family. I've never missed one. And I knew one day I would be here, and I knew one day I would win it. I feel like that's why everybody starts is to one day become a national champion. But I truly believed it, and I trained like it since I was a kid. And it's pretty awesome to be able to say that I'm now a national champion.
As we wrap up, what do you want people to remember most from this run? And just for you looking back, what will be the most special thing about it?
That's a great question. Man, it's a lot of things. I think there's a few. I think one is just the power of manifestation and believing in yourself. I wrote that paper. I'm sure maybe you've gotten a chance to see the interviewer at some point, or but basically I wrote a paper describing every moment of the final ending moments of that match and how it was going to play out against the opponent that I had a month in advance, and I kind of just spoke it into existence. And so that was something that I believe in, is just the law of attraction, and putting things out there and going and chasing them. Um, that's definitely something I want people to take away from my performance. Another one is just love for your family and your support system. I really leaned into that throughout this tournament. My sister tearing her third ACL this year, and not being able to wrestle, and a big, maybe the biggest influence for me this past weekend, was being able to win for her. And just being able to compete for something beyond yourself is something really special, and I got to do that. And in those moments when I'm losing by points and I got to find a way to win, when I can't do it for myself, it makes me remember I'm doing it for something else too. And it gives you just an extra little bit of strength. um, and then obviously just the power of belief and consistency. I've taken a lot of really close losses, and I've been right there but fallen short a lot of times, and just figuring out a way to get back up and keep doing the right things and eventually find a way to win.
Well, Aiden, thanks for coming on the show. It was great to speak with you today.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it, brother.